More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimany, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Welcome back to this episode of the Beyond the Pills, where we explore the edges of true healing, where ancient wisdom meets modern science, and where transformation begins from the inside out. I'm your host, Josh Rimany. Today's guest isn't just a leadership expert or best-selling author. He's been one of my personal coaches, a very good friend of mine, and someone who's walked with me through some of my most profound inner shifts, both professionally and personally. It's an honor, a really big honor, to welcome my friend, my brother, Brent Perkins, to the show. Brent is a former multi-eight-figure CEO turned leadership coach who is obsessed with capacity, that inner operating system that drives everything else in life and leadership. He's the founder of 3X Bold and the author of Papercuts, The Art of Self-Delusion, a powerful and vulnerable work about the subtle wounds we carry in the pursuit of success. Through his work, Brent helps growth-minded entrepreneurs and elite coaches transmute energy or stress into energy, translating neuroscience and somatics into boardroom results and bedroom presence. He's also a board member of Front Row Dads, a community we are both in. And his latest venture, Capacity, is a curated leadership collective focused on expanding impact at work and at the home. In this episode, we are going to dive and explore into the deep work behind leadership, my story, and Brent's story, and energy quadrants, the three currencies of capacity, and what it looks like to shift the culture of leadership from burnout and disconnection to one where we all rise together. I can't wait for this one, guys. This has been a long time coming, my friend. It's going to be very powerful and deeply personal. So welcome to the show, my friend, my brother, Brent Perkins.
So excited, Josh. Thank you.
Man, we've been on a journey, haven't we? To say the least. I'm so excited to have you on the show because you've been such an integral part of my own transformation and healing over this past year. And we'll get into that. But let's talk a little bit about your personal journey and where you've come from. And what inspired you, like these things like your book, which is amazing, and transitioning from like high-powered corporate to personal leadership and professional leadership coach. Where's this all about? Tell people a little bit about Brent and where he came from.
Yeah, there's a lot to share, and yet the simple part is that I did what I was groomed to do, what I was told I needed to do, the things that were going to make my parents happy. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My dad started businesses and he did pretty well. And my mom had a lot of hope and dreams and knowing that we would be successful in some way. So I chased it. All over the place, from my personal relationships to my professional endeavors. And I got lost in it for a lot of years. And it was about 5 years ago where things really started to unravel. Right around the age of 40, maybe a little longer than that. And things really were unsustainable in my life. I didn't look at it that way. Things felt good. I was making good money. Business was fun and successful. I didn't understand how much of a lack of presence I had at home. I thought it was okay because I was there quite a bit, when I wasn't traveling, which was too much. But I didn't understand what the true lack of presence I really, really had. And I, I couldn't put my finger on it. And it just all unraveled. A 20-year marriage fell apart. Um, my kids, really, my relationship with them struggled deeply. And my business, it, it didn't struggle directly, but my ability to show up
Mm.
with the energy, with the attention, with the presence it needed was just floundering. So that kind of led to, I guess, 3 years ago, which is where you and I kind of met and started working together, and where I started the journey of writing this book out of the blue. But I wrote it for me. It was part of my journey. And that was the precipice to lead us to where we're at today.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the book because and how we met and where like how we started working together, not just professionally. We're very close and we are on our journeys together here. But your book Papercuts, it delves into the subtle wounds of we often overlook. And can you share your story, because it is really powerful and it's fun because I know the backstory, but I want you to share. But like, what inspired you to write the book? You said you wrote it for you, and it's in your
Mhm.
first pages of your book, right? This isn't for anyone; it's for you. And how does that reflect in your personal journey? Because I think it's really good. This book is amazing, and it really helped me out in my transitions.
Well, it's funny. This is how you know the book's either for you or not, because this either resonates or it will frustrate you. But the dedication says this book was written for Brent Perkins. Yes, myself. If I'm able to help myself, then I've done all that I can. My deepest hope is that through my dedication to myself and the work that only I can do, somehow it touches others, inspiring them to look inside and do the work that only they can do. So I share that because, I've been called a selfish narcissist for writing that. And yet, um, at its core, it's the exact opposite, right?
Yeah.
It's my lesson of learning that I can't fix anybody else, any other situation except me. That's all I have control over.
Ooh, get the chills on that one, and only because it's what I love about you, and what about that is like exactly if that's for you or not. Like if you think it's egotistical and narcissistic, like don't read that book.
Yeah,
But
don't
like
need it.
what the true essence of that is what we both have learned, what you've taught me in different ways, and what I've learned in different ways, which is do you first. You talk about you taught me like how like that concept of self full. I say it all the time now because it's not selfish, it's not selfless. It's filling we always talk about this, right? Fill your bucket up so it can overflow so everyone else can be benefit. That's what you're saying there. Is like if I'm not my purest self, my wholeness, like my journey to wholeness was what brought me to you that says, dude, I need to help. I need some help in categories here. Um, and that's why I love that book, because from the very beginning, even when you were writing it, we were talking through why you were writing it and what these things is like. That's so important because from the very beginning, you were doing it not to get fame, not to get books sold. You were literally doing it to continue your process of becoming whole. And in that process, you're helping others. And that's where I think you and I have grown into this space of no longer teaching people the stuff. It's through our own experience and
Yeah.
people learning through experience. And you discuss um that concept in your book quite a bit, and I love the stories. So it's amazing. It's so cool.
Well,
Um
it's interesting, Josh. For a while, and I still do occasionally, people ask what I do, and I say I'm on a mission for permission. Of course, most people don't understand what I'm talking about. But whether this is true as men and or as business leaders, and this is true for women too. I think men more than anything like grab onto what I'm about to say, which is we don't need advice. We don't need to be told what to do. We don't need a prescription because like, what I wrote about in this book is finding your agency, finding your truth, you know, grabbing choice and holding on to it for dear life, because that is the single gift we've all been given by our creator, by the higher source, whatever you call it, is free will. And um, when we exercise it for ourselves, there is no greater there is no greater gift to ourselves, to the world. And I didn't want to write something that told people how to do what I did. What the way I did it, the way you did it, the way I watched you do it, the way I watched you and support you do your work. It was like nobody else had ever seen. And that we each have to go on our own journey. So this permission piece is sharing our journey so vulnerable, which is kind of what we're doing today. That it gives people permission to go to this depth, explore themselves, because it feels a little safer because you've seen somebody else do it.
Well, and we talk a lot that about that a lot in like just coaching and being in the tribes that we're in, like in Front Row Dads. Yeah, if we say FRD, that's what we're saying because we just say it so often. We just say FRD. Bunch of really good growth centered guys that want to be family men with businesses, not businessmen with families. And that's why I joined and that's where I met these awesome people. But it's holding space, that container, which is what you did. You didn't do any. This is why I say coaches don't play the game. The player plays the game. The coach is the guide in the journey. He's watching. I love how you say that. Like your journey is different than my journey. And you watched me do the work and make those choice points. Those were the biggest choice points I made this summer, going through the process of discovery and wholeness and authenticity and finding my truth and traveling all over the world and doing all the medicines and all the healing and all the things that I did. But at the end of the day, I love where you brought this up. I had to make those choices for me
Mm-hmm.
from a place that wasn't wounded, right? A place of true authenticity is I'm going in. I'm going in, and I know there's going to be people that don't agree, but I'm doing it for me. And if I don't do it for me, then I'm choosing others, not in a selfish way. You taught me this from the very beginning is like, and you're super good. Like the way I want to coach is they're going to ask me the hard questions that I got to go, oh, yeah, I got to think on that one because I'm a big thinker. You know me. And you ask me those hard, difficult questions because that's where that choice comes from, right? Making those choices to, you know, separate from my family, separate from my business because I knew I had to do something more. Like I know you've worked with these high level entrepreneurs like me that have done things and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's because we're questioning our life and moving into that what I call the second mountain, right? The life of the inside out, not the outside in, right? And this is where I think you and I have had such great conversations over the years because we're in alignment there. And your calling has been beautiful because you are moving in the direction you've moved in that direction full steam, like full time, right? This is not part-time, like I'm just going to help people here and there. Like you've created this community around leadership, but it's more than business leadership, right? It's more than just, self-empowerment and thinking, like it's this whole, how do we put it all together, but in your way, right? In your way, in my way, in everyone's way, because we're all going down the same. I always say this, it's like, doesn't it seems like the formula is the same, but the path is different, right? The journey is different for everybody, but we have these pillars, we have this formula, and you've gone through this in your own journey in your book, Papercuts, but now it's kind of taken a new step for you, right? It's kind of taken this new edge, this new feel.
it has. So it's interesting. Nobody, well, especially business leaders, we don't actually want to pay for or spend time doing a lot of deep personal development work, right? We know we need it a lot of times, but it's takes too much time. We don't have the energy. We already know we're kind of blowing it at home, or with our kids or with our spouses or our partners. Um, and it feels selfish to spend a lot of time doing other work for just us, right? And let's be clear. I mean, a lot of it feels woo woo and weird and not aligned with who we have to show up. Like I said earlier, keeping that edge as a business person, like this, aligning all of these pieces feels incongruous on the surface. I get it. And so what I've been playing with is, you've already alluded to it, but I found everything starts with just a reflection of my own journey, right? Because I can only share my experiences,
Mhm.
and I've tried to overlay the feedback I've gotten, the other stories from all those I've spent time with over the last decade in the leadership space, in the business ownership, the entrepreneurial space, and that is that so much of what we do is being evaluated or judged against, as you said earlier, am I being self-ish or am I being selfless? You know, what does my output look like? What am I doing? Where does it fall on that spectrum?
Yeah.
And on the self-ish side is this thing, it's really all over social media and in society today about being a narcissist. That word is tossed around all the time. So we've got this shame and guilt, associated with that. And on the other side of this thing, most of us forget there's martyrdom. Martyrdom's pretty darn ugly, usually because you don't know you're living in it, right? But this is the doing spectrum. This is our output into the world. What about our input? What about who we're being? Mostly to ourselves. And this is what you were talking about, self-full. I actually call it self-rich. So we've got self-poor at the bottom of that spectrum and self-rich at the top. So you've got this quadrant, horizontally left to right, selfish to selfless. And then vertically top to bottom, you've got self-poor to self-rich up top. And when I talk to most leaders, especially the ones we work with, right, or we're friends with, they all want to be servant leaders. They want to give. The problem is that giving, yes, it's selfless, but it's almost always from a state of being self-poor.
Mm.
And this is where we all get in trouble.
Well, and
Because what?
that was a big deal for me, right? And you know me
Yeah.
really well. Is I love helping people. I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a wellness guru. I love helping people, and I love helping people. And it was that I love the like the quadrants in my head now. It's like I was doing it from a depleted state. Like I would help people at my own expense, not consciously. I would literally do it for people because it helped me. And I lived a life where I thought that was selfless for so long, but actually to me it was selfish. Like I would help them so I could feel better, even though it was depleting me, even though I knew it was depleting me. And it was almost like it was like this shadow weakness of like being so helpful. And then you and some of my, like when I went on this journey, like you got me to realize the other side of it is like when you do that from a place of fullness and you've done that, then it's like I had the priorities backwards. It was like, all right, your business so you can have a good family, so you can be in a good relationship, so you can then be fulfilled. And then when I flipped that script completely and I said, do me first, which I teach people, right? It was a teaching of like my own medicine, right? Be full first so then you can be a good dad and a good husband so your business can thrive. It was like when I moved the priorities 180, and I had to live that through experience. And I want to talk about that because you can't read this in a book and then be transformed. You actually have to like put in we call it the work, right? But you have to put in the reps. Like you got to make these decisions that you know are not going to be comfortable, but necessary.
Yeah.
And so thank you for bringing that light into the conversation because it is such a big thing.
So as you were saying, this place of giving, you know, on the surface it looks like heroics, and it almost always leads to resentment because there is a selfish component. You're really doing it for yourself, whether it's to protect yourself and make sure that everybody thinks and sees you as this good person who's giving, or whether you're actually doing it to make yourself feel good that you gave, right? And then we usually have some sort of codependent attachment to it or covert contract that we want something back in return from it without telling people. Sounds like really, really great giving, huh?
Well, and your self-talk tells you it's okay, right? Your
Of
self-talk's
course.
like you're a great guy. You can do all this stuff and everybody's good. But at the end of the day, do you really feel fulfilled when you're
Yeah.
completely wiped out and hadn't really so to me, flipping that framework so I can help more people was really
Yeah. And what
instrumental.
Josh is saying in terms of flipping the framework, at least in terms of how I talk about it, is that if giving is in this bottom right quadrant, the self less and the self poor quadrant, where we really want to get to is this upper right hand quadrant, right? Which is still selfless, but it's self rich or self full, as you said. The question is, you know, that quadrant's contributing. So the difference between giving and contributing is that contributing is additive. You know, it's not like going to Goodwill every spring and cleaning out your house and giving it away, which who necessarily wants or needs that. It's actually seeing past yourself and
Mm.
contributing in a value added way to society, to your business, to your family. So the question really comes in: how do we get there? And this is the piece we can spend a little bit of time talking about, especially in your own journey. But in this matrix is the top upper left hand quadrant, and that is selfish, but it's self rich, and it's I call it the developing quadrant, but it's really about where we build capacity, where we build resilience, where we really have deep input to ourselves.
Well, let's talk about capacity because most people think and where this is going and this is an awesome episode because a lot of times we're thinking about healing from a place of like what's the with functional medicine and all these protocols, but now we're talking about this balancing of these quadrants of life too, not just professionally and personally and personal growth. And I think that word balance has been overused a lot, right? I don't think we're ever in balance. I think we're always balancing things, but I don't feel like, and I feel like the word capacity comes up a lot. Like I don't have time. I don't have, if I spend all the time on me, how am I going to, like the mind always goes into, well, what about my business? Like if I put all the effort in me, then my business and family don't get. And so let's talk about your philosophy here and
Yeah.
what you've been doing and what's coming, because I think this is, in growth for all of us is like our personal lives sort of mirror our professional lives, but at this point, I think it's also mirroring where humanity's going. And
Yeah.
I think that's what the big picture is here. But I want you to explain in your way because it's such a beautiful way to talk about it. This 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 concept of capacity.
Yeah. So you already said the word that I think most of us want to go towards or want to believe capacity really is, which is time, right? You know, you said I don't have time for my family. I don't have time for this. And the problem is that time has nothing to do with capacity. It's it's um it's a saboteur word
Mm.
for ourselves. It shifts the conversation and the attention away from what capacity truly is. And if we're talking about internal capacity, not your external stuff, not your systems, your software, your products, your services, those are ways that we can shift external capacity and play with it. But in terms of our internal capacity, this internal architecture, I really believe it's three things. It's energy, which is kind of the charge our batteries hold, about our body. It's attention, which is more on the mind. It's this spotlight you hold and where you place your intention and presence. And this is really that quality people feel when you walk in the room. And when we can not just fill our bucket, right, with the right currencies, but if we can expand our bucket, and expand our capacity, this vault that holds these three currencies, time becomes the dividend that these currencies pay off or throw off. Because growing and making sure and really protecting our energy, right, paired with where do we put our intention, those things come together for how do we do in the best way, where our doing becomes really intentional and not frantic. And the presence piece for me is really around this being piece. It's this alignment. It's how do you walk in a room, whether that's at home or you walk in a boardroom or the gym, and people just immediately go, oh, that person's at peace. They don't need anything from me. I don't have to hold back. I don't have to pretend. I can just be the best me. Like, you feel that from people. So how do you bring these three? How do you unlock these currencies to their highest level? So when you actually show up, it's hard to understand at first, but time is actually created as we fund these currencies within this expanded vault that we're creating for ourselves.
And to me, what I heard was there's this great like expansion, right? Expanding your capacity. I think people can I can put my head around that, right?
Yep.
Time in this world, like we're in time and space, and we don't have any more time. We have the same amount of time, but capacity can be expanded, and we all know this, right? When we're in flow and we're in that authentic, peaceful alignment, attunement, we're in our zone of genius. Time disappears, and we have ultimately, and we all know this, and we all want to get more of that. So I love the way you said, like, time create you create more time. It comes to you because you have more capacity. People that are running, 6 businesses, they've got good families, they're doing all this stuff, and they're on vacation, and they're doing this, and they're doing this, and they're doing this, but they're not the energy part, right? They're not burnout. They're not tired. They're actually completely fine getting up at 5 a.m. and doing the things they need to do because their energy is at that high. So you're teaching people how to, I love that, contain your energy, hold that energy. It's one of my biggest things that I'm still working on. That's the thing that I get to work on, because with empaths and people that feel like, that's a tough stuff. That's a tough piece for me, is holding in holding my own energy bubble and holding that for my own sake and protecting that. And you've sort of intellectually done this, but now you've got a process you're taking people through, right? You're putting through this process because you started earlier, and I want to expand on this. Like, I really, so you're saying it's kind of in this way, if we use these energy quadrants in this capacity framework, we can achieve where we want to go in all of these buckets of life, not just one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everyone's choosing one or the other in this capacity thing, but like for me, it's like, can we make it all happen at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I run a small mastermind that's kind of a passion project for me. And it's called Father, Lover, Leader. And it's for these same business owners, entrepreneurs that are dads, and they have no idea how to continue being the leader and the success driven person at work while being a super present father and while being an incredible lover. Um, and yes, all three are possible without any more effort.
Well, walk us through your framework, because I think people are like, well, I'm in like I how is this new? It's not new. Like I don't feel like there's any new information here. It's how we present it and how we relate to it that matters. And I think and serving in these capacities, this framework of these currencies. Can you elaborate on the process you're moving people through now?
Uh, yes and no, Josh, because my frameworks actually don't work for you or for other people. They're just a story. They are just permission, right? So what works is that when we have awareness and we understand that, oh shit, I'm a giver, which is great, but I want to be a contributor. And we start to understand where we're living, what's holding us back. We get into spaces of other humans doing similar type of work in the world in similar types of family and community scenarios as us, and we find our tribes, right, to support us, to give us permission, to tell us it's okay, to hold that space for us to do this work, knowing that we're not unique, we're not on an island, we're not special snowflake butterflies that are the only ones dealing with stuff. No, this is how it works in humanity. And um, the core to it all, and this is why it's such a unique journey, is really letting go of control. And that looks so different for every single person. But that is where we reclaim our energy. It's where we have our personal agency to choose where do we put our attention. And those two things together is what brings us back to how do we then show up with this presence that I can't describe to you, except that everybody else will be like, well, you're different, Josh. What changed in you? And you can't even tell people, it just is. So is there
Yes.
framework to get you there? Oh, there's some, there's some general outlines of it, but it's really you doing your work. This is why there's 1,000 books a month published on business strategies that are all the same shit with a different do steps 1 through 7 and you'll succeed. We all have our own perspective, our own experiences, and our own way to get there. We just need somebody to tell us it's safe enough to explore it on our own.
Well, you're speaking like it's funny because you're speaking and I'm like, yeah, I was just I was a couple months ago. I was at my entrepreneur group EO in my forum, and we were we had our I think it was our holiday party. It was a few months back, and some of the spouses were there, and a couple months later, my EO forum mate is like, my wife kept asking me after the party. She's like, what's going on with Josh? Like he just looks like he's glowing, like he's just like. And I had that experience when I went through my journey, and I went through that, and like I always say, the only path forward is through. And when I went through that journey, there was this lightness about me, this essence, this aura that people do pick up on. It's natural for us to do this, but I can't tell you how many people is it like, you look different, you're changed, like how you're glowing. Like I'm saying yes to the things that resonate. And I loved how you brought up the giving up control, like the surrender experiment that you helped guide me through, right? Some of these things was, just saying yes to what resonates and going. And that experiment, I guess it's called an experiment for me, but like that journey was the path to wholeness. It wasn't like the thing I had to do to get to the thing. It was literally, that's why you can't explain it, right? You can probably put it in metaphors and you can put it in what the result you got, but you can't say, well, like this is the 5-step program to self-exploration and wholeness, right? It's like, yes, I had to make hard decisions. Yes, I had to have a tribe around me that were, no matter what, they're not going to judge anything. They're just going to hold that for me as I'm going through it, because it's the human experience. And this is what you're created. You've created this space for people to do that. And that's what this podcast, this is where you and I are kind of in the same boat here, is like, I'm not in the business of symptom management anymore. I'm not in the business of helping people make money for the sake of making money. It's like, we want high impact. We want to help transform the planet one person at a time. And that's why I love working with you and and talking with you about all your concepts and feelings, because it's through your own journey that you're now called. You said it in the beginning, you're called to help people in this capacity, and you found your zone of genius, your calling, the thing that you're trying to do and doing right now, because you're moving in that direction. And when that happens, these high level, high impact people are also rippling out and helping more people. So it's
Yeah.
this big collective experience.
Yeah. I mean, think about your journey in the last year and a half. And if I'd told you exactly what to do with your business, with your wife and your family, with your own journey through different medicines in different countries, you would have either one told me to go jump off a cliff. We probably wouldn't be friends anymore. And if you'd actually listened to me, you'd be in a weird spot right now because you wouldn't understand why the pain of it all, the journey of it all, the beauty of it all, you didn't actually get to make those decisions, which is the point, right?
And you can't, it, no matter how much we talk about it, it's really the act, right? It's the act. Like I could not, and that's why I like say, when you, but I think some of the things that are really important is if you're really focused on what you want and why you want it. Like, for me, it's like, throw out the how, throw out the when, and just do, like, be clear on that, because I couldn't tell you, I could not write the book on how I got to where I got, right? I was
Yeah.
going through the, just leaning in and that unknown, but I started to understand the more I've leaned into what was in my resonance, in my trueness, when it felt right, when it was right here, not just here, when I was aligning the two, this- the synchronicity started falling into place. And that's where I knew, for me, that's my litmus test to remind me, from whatever whatever source you think of that I'm on the right path. Because
Yeah.
I feel like that's how my formula works, and I feel like that's what I know with other people that have gone through this journey of transformation or healing or spiritual growth or anything like that, is like, keep leaning into what is in alignment with you. And that's what you that was probably the most powerful lesson that I was, like, you didn't tell me to do that, but you held me not accountable, but asking me those questions constantly, because I had to be reminded, because the story is going to go into, well, what about this? Or I got to please this person, or I'm afraid of this reaction, because we all have that in us, right? We all have programs. And to me, that was the biggest part, was having the right person help me to just understand what I was capable of, and where, and having that courage, right? We talk tribes all the time, you and me. Like,
Yeah.
that's the word I say, find your tribe, because people going through their journey alongside you, it to me, that's the comfort that I get. That's the safe space, rather than feeling like you're isolated and, like you said, doing it on your own. No, this is the human experience if you want it.
If you want
or
it.
or 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 it could be this experience if you want it, right? um I won't go there, but
It's interesting listening to you, Josh, because who you are just 1 year later, um, from conversations we were having where you, like so many successful entrepreneurs and business owners, like loved your intellect. Your pride was wrapped around your intellect, with the fact that, all the doctoral degrees you have and the just the knowledge you had. And what I find, especially with those of us that are just these driven entrepreneurs, is that we forget. We forget that we are infinite souls. And I don't care what you believe, whether it's, as long as you believe something, then this will resonate with you. But we're infinite souls that are temporarily housing this body that does nothing on its own except for has these amazing sensations that input into our system. And we have this brain that sits on top that interprets those signals, right? And then we have the context of everything from our family history to our schooling history to our jobs to our partners. All these pieces overlay on top, and it then tells us, here's what I'm choosing that my experience means today, right? And then our intellect is this last piece on top, but it's actually the last in the chain. And we think often that because it's the piece that is last before something comes out of our mouth, that it's the most important. And the most important is who we are as, souls. And then this body we've been given in the incredible senses, and that we get choice to shift what it means for us. Like, we don't have to just go with whatever this first thing that pops in our head because our intellect is so great and smart. We can sit with it if we've built capacity, right? And we can choose a different ending to the story, a different meaning to it. We can say, you know what? That person was an asshole, but I bet they had the worst day ever. I'm going to get curious about this. We have that choice all the time. We don't exercise it often enough.
That's huge. Well, that was a big part of where my learn. Like, I literally was reading a book in. I found it in the Amazon where I was and doing my healing stuff, and there's this little book library, and I picked up a book, and it was on intuition, and it was all about the intellect moving the intellect from being the master to the servant. And I think it was a book by Osho called Intuition, and oldie but goodie. It even had the essence of like mold, like mildew in the book. It was so like old, but it was my journey from here to here and connecting these two, not using this as the only way. And as I get deeper and deeper into my growth, and this is why I love helping men move from here to here, not taking this as the only thing. We use this as superpower, but how do we use it as the servant, not the master? And how do we and you can go woo or science on this, right? And you can teach people how to connect with their intuition, with their feelings, with their embodiment, because that's what you do in this program. You've taught me embodiment work, right? A lot of men are still the feels, but like literally feel. And
Yeah.
so moving from here to here has been a big part of my journey. And it's so much more impactful is not the word I'm going for, but like it's so much more rewarding to be able to sense and make decisions as a leader, as a bigger part of me, where this doesn't always get more. I'm practicing this art now of non-doing, of literally sitting and
Yeah.
silence. It's been a
Yeah.
good ride for me, for sure.
So I know everybody listening to this isn't going to fully understand, and maybe you forget too, but the hours of conversations you and I have had where you are just stuck in your head, where, you are struggling so hard to let go of the thing that has made you money, has gotten you the titles and the degrees and everything you had built in your life. And I'm not calling you out because you're unique, you're not, but this conversation is about us. And that was such a deep part of your journey. I don't even know how to convey that to the listeners, except that if you're struggling with that, it, this is deeply real. And it actually makes, I want to share one other thing. I am a huge advocate for shifting the state of masculinity in society today. And um, what I mean by that is too often we talk about toxic masculinity. And I don't believe there's any such thing. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity or femininity. There's a really terrible toxic expression of it. But masculinity in its core, femininity in its core are beautiful. We all have both sides of this thing.
Mm.
And being able to appreciate, have gratitude for, and really let out and balance, maybe a good use of the word balance, the masculine and the feminine in our lives is so healthy. And men and women both need to lean into this, because you have female entrepreneurs who are way too into their masculine and probably have a masculine partner who's so afraid of his feminine, doesn't know how to let his feminine partner step into her feminine at the end of the day. And so it's compounding this situation. And what I found when I got divorced is that I was so scared to be a dad on my own. I was so scared that I didn't have any sort of intuition, and I wasn't empathetic at all, because that's what I was told, and honestly probably showed that in my life. And what I found doing this work is men are incredibly empathetic when we trust ourselves. And the beauty of the intuition of women and the empathy of men, when they are used in their healthiest expression, is such an awesome combination. And it takes men, I bring this up because it takes men out of their head into their body, and you have to start trusting yourself. And
And I love that. You and I are both connected in our Front Row Dads community, and it's men's work, right? It's this, we teach, we learn, and we experience what I call the divine masculine, the new masculine, where we're leaning into these parts of us, not the egoic stuff, not the wounded parts of us, because the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine that are both doing this together, is not what we're talking about here. It's this beauty of where we're moving into embracing these gifts, embrace trust. I love that. Like, just trust in your own being, like, because that's where, and I'm glad you went there, because I think a lot of what we're doing here is not just professional or personal growth. It really is rooted around this masculine, this way and manner in which we have both, and we nurture both, and we recognize how to grow from that and move into that space. And I think that's really what I've been learning a lot in our tribes, and with the wisdom that we have and that you've imparted, is like, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be this part in you, when it's healthy, when it's not coming from a source of a wound, or from a maladaptive component, right? Well, let's shift gears, because I want to know where you're taking this, because this is the new stuff, this is the fun stuff, this is the cutting edge, I guess, things of you built this, you're building this new community, right? This capacity community. Tell me a little bit about what it is, and how I and others can get involved.
Yeah. So it's less of a community than it is a curated collection of leaders who want to do this work together.
Right.
Um, you know, I hear too often capacity. I know we've said it a lot on this call, and yes, it is the name of this project that's coming together, because capacity is a real thing in most of our lives, especially those of us that are 7 and 8 figure leaders, which is just kind of who I resonate with, or high 6-figure elite coaches are really playing in this same space where we don't know how to get it all done. We don't know how to show up at home and at work without losing our edge, and building out, the who we are, leaning into having fun, staying healthy, being able to go into our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond in a way where we're not just grinding it out and got this soul sucking hustle underneath us to try to make it work. That's not the only way. So I'm putting together this, calling it a leadership collective. Yeah, and it's called Capacity. And the first one's going to be May 28th at 11 a.m. Pacific, and it will be once a month from there on out. And it's a group of these same entrepreneurs and elite coaches who ultimately want to shift leadership so work, home, and community all rise together. It's time that they're not separate, that they're not competing any longer.
I love that. And I think shifting the culture of leadership and authenticity towards authenticity and this collective well-being, right? Like
Yeah.
we've had so many conversations about these things. They're literally forming, right? This is bringing this to a level that I feel we're not only going in our own lives, again, it's mirroring our profession and our professions, but this conscious collective of the part equals the whole, right?
Mhm.
These doing it from like not just you, not just me, not just the people that are in the group, but it's becoming where we all get to share and this community of sharing and growing so we can grow together in a way that is serving, in a way that's servant leadership, but from this place of, we've talked back and forth about, you know, our zones of genius and how they match up with, helping people in our own perspective ways, in our own
Yeah.
unique ways, and allowing people to choose. Like that's part of the process is like it's a choose your own adventure, guys. You don't have to go one way, but you do have to hang around the people that are doing it, right? The whole adage of like you become the five people you're closest around, and this
Mhm.
is kind of how that vibe is, right? It's like heart-centered people that are here to that are not just into growth and made it, like we're all in the journey together. And so where can we go for that? Is it what's the site?
So my website is 3xbold.com. The number 3, the letter X, and then bold.com. You can go right there. If you want to hit /capacity, you can get right to the website that describes what this collective is, and you can request a guest ticket. So we want to invite you to come experience it, to come embody it, to come see what are these other leaders like? What is this space held? It's not a teaching, it's not a masterclass, it's not knowledge based. This is truly finding the wisdom in the room. It's a group of like-minded, like-hearted entrepreneurs and business owners, and it's also filled with um, you know other elite coaches doing work around capacity, like you, Josh. Because capacity means a lot of different things for each of us. Once we can start to lay the foundation of expanding it, then we can look at what do we need. Maybe you need to go on a journey of health. Maybe you need to go on a journey of expansion in your business or your marriage, or um, nervous system work or breath work. I don't know what your specific journey is, and it's going to shift over time. But what we're creating is this flat room. There are no gurus. There's nobody on soapboxes talking to you. We're all shoulder to shoulder learning, and there's so much wisdom in the room and so much compassion because we're all in the same boat.
Mm. And done in a way that I think is in really good resonance on where people are trying to learn how their capacity to experience things You know, I think so many like people are doing a master class, and then they're putting you in a funnel, and then they're, getting you into their one signature program. Like, everybody, how many programs have we all bought that we never actually did, because it's just more of the, this is how I've done it, and if you want my success, this is how I want to do it for you. And that doesn't work, right? This is part of that process of the experience, and being surrounded, like, and embodied by all of these awesome, like, people that are all here to give and get. I always say, just give as much as you can and get as much as you can, but it's that energy exchange. When it feels right, you don't feel like you're being sucked dry, and you don't feel like you're giving too much. It's because, you and I have been in certain circles where you just feel uplifted, and you get so much out of it by just showing up, that it's this, you can't speak it, right? This is why a plant medicine journey, you can't talk to somebody because there's no vocabulary in our human language for what you experience, so you can only say what you get out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Mm.
awesome. I can't wait to join this one, because this is exactly where I think we need to be in order to be our best. In
Yeah.
order to be, we always talk about being the best version of ourselves. And this is kind of like, well, how do you do that? You hang around with really good people doing different things and showing up in the world in their way, in their full authentic whole selves, or in the journey. Like, here's the deal. This is what I want people to really understand too, is nobody's ever, like, fixed, right? It's the journey to wholeness, right? And
Yeah.
when I'm enlightened, it's because this body just explodes and I'm up into the ether, right? That's not where I want to go. I'm here because I'm experiencing the journey every step of the way, and I'm grateful for all the learning experiences I have, and it's just like, it just keeps getting deeper and better and deeper and better and deeper and better. And it's not all perfect either. Like,
Well,
you're on
and
this
let's
journey, it's actually going to get worse sometimes,
yeah,
right?
yes, yes, and let's be clear so everybody understands too. Like, your journey is a journey of health. That's what this podcast is for. That's what, your mission of deprescribing 10 million prescriptions is all about. And I think it's worth, bringing this back home with, why have you and I worked together? Why are you going to be part of this capacity leadership collective? Why does this topic, how does it relate to health? And I'm going to tee you up, and I do want your perspective on this. And for me, it's, capacity being the bottom layer that allows you to explore these avenues like health. It brings the beginning parts of peace into your life. And as somebody who's been on this journey of all sides of health, what does peace mean to your health, Josh?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that word peace, right? This is one of those words where we strive for it rather than be in it.
Mm,
And for me, thank you for asking, because, like, me, and I I use the analogy of, like, if you owned $1 million horse, you would treat it really good. You'd give it the right food, you'd have the groomer, you'd have the trainer. It would be ever like, or if you owned a Ferrari, like, you wouldn't put crappy gas in it, and you wouldn't drive it around all over the place. Like, you would take really good care of it because it was so valuable to you. Well, I love teaching people to treat their bodies like they've treated their business, or like they've treated that piece of thing, because this body, mind, and spirit that we have, you said it, like, we're in this incarnation, we're eternal souls, but we living this human existence, and we only have this finite time in this body to experience in this time and space. And so, how do we make life vibrantly healthy? And it's it's not just the physical and it's not just the emotional, and it's moving into the energetic. So for me, finding peace is one, living my full authentic self. And for me, that's teaching others how to treat their bodies like they've treated their businesses and moving in that direction. And blending body, heart, like heart, mind, and spirit is putting it all together so
Mm.
we can be in that space. We can be in that space of wholeness. Because for me,
Yeah.
peace is sitting with myself, knowing I'm truly myself. I'm not doing it for anybody else. And and those moments of clarity and brilliance and peace to me is like the mind is quiet, but it's still moving, and I'm getting the downloads, and I'm serving and putting, I always say, putting a dent in the universe in the right way.
Yeah.
So that's my little impression of where it is. And I love helping other people get there in their own way.
And how
And you
many
got to take care of your body so you can take care of the mind, so you can take care of the energetics, and you got to take care of the energetics so you can take care of the mind, so you can take care of the body.
and how many more prescriptions are we going to get to de-prescribe? Because on this journey to create capacity, we've regulated nervous systems, we've created calm, we've helped people let go of control that just keeps them so plugged in at this like gripping deep level.
Mhm. And that is the bigger mission for me, is like,
Yeah.
how do you de-prescribe? You make them unnecessary. How do you make
Yeah.
them unnecessary? Well, if you're living a full life in your way, well, that's the true at the essence of humanity,
Yeah.
of
You
being,
probably will
right?
never be a diabetic. You probably don't need a statin. You probably, will never not have to go on your anxiety meds. These things don't exist in a world where you're full and you've built capacity.
Yeah, because and it's not, and I always like make the disclaimer, is like, it's not, medications aren't bad for people, but they become necessary when we're out of alignment. And so it's kind of like moving it from the other side is like, well, when you're in alignment, they are become necessary because you don't need to numb the anxiety or the pain or any of those things. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person for taking them. That just means there are choice points you can make in your lifestyle. And this is how we're talking. This is why we brought these communities to manifest in the way they have, which is so beautiful.
To explore what's possible.
How it doesn't get any better than this, right?
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
So how can our listeners connect with you? Obviously, it's 3xbold.com.
Mhm.
You're probably on LinkedIn, right?
And that's
You
it.
got all
Those are the
the
only
social
two
points.
places. I'm not on social media for the last, it's been 3 years now. Um, it's just something I choose. Just for me, that's what I needed for my own sanity. So yeah, those two places are great. And I just want to leave everybody with, um, you know, the biggest lesson for me in all of this work has been that the leadership you want, whether it's at work or at home or in your community, it can't be forced. It's got to be funded. And I encourage you to find your way to fund it. And maybe joining us at capacity is it. And if not, um, find your own way.
Beautiful, my friend. Um, Thank you for spending time with me today, sharing your mission, sharing your vision, and more importantly, just sharing sharing your gifts with me over these years has been such a true gift for me. You have gifted in your own ways so much more than I could probably express in words. So thank you for showing up in the word world in your way, because this is in my mind how healing happens. So thank you, my friend.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure to contribute to your journey.
Thank you, my friend. Um, this has been an awesome episode. This has been great. Thank you so much. Go check out 3xbold.com. Let's get this capacity moving, and I can't wait to join you on the 28th, man. It's going to be super fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. See y'all
All
there.
right, guys. This is a wrap. Until next time, stay well, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to deprescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.